Alright, what's up fight fans? You're watching Octagon Control MMA. I'm Dan. Today we're going to be talking about JDS, Junior Dos Santos. He's going to be fighting Ciryl Gane in the heavyweight division. Coming up on UFC 256 this weekend. Very interesting fight. Two fighters at very different stages of a career. We've got JDS, the grizzled veteran, been there, done that. And we've got Ciryl Gane, who's coming undefeated up-and-comer, looking very promising. Probably going to be making a title run in a year or two. So definitely one to watch for the future. JDS, there's too much to say about JDS. He's got knockout wins over Derek Lewis, Cain Velasquez, Mark Hunt, Fabricio Verdum, Frank Mir. Very impressive resume he's got. Ciryl Gane, again relatively untested. Tanner Boser, his most recent fight, probably the best known fighter he's got. He fought Dontel Mays before that, who some of you may have heard of, but nowhere near the same level of experience as JDS. Alright, so we're going to start off talking about JDS. Like I say, JDS has been there and done that. He's got the big wins over a lot of big fighters. Everyone remembers the Cain Velasquez trilogy. Very impressive. Got the win in the first one, obviously lost the next two, bit disappointing. But the key thing for JDS's career up to this point is he has only lost to the big names. I mean, Ngannou, his last two against Blades and Rosenstruck, maybe a bit lower down, but the two against Cain Velasquez, Stipe's beat him. One or two other big names who escape me right now, but he's had a very good career, and he's beaten a lot of big names, and he's knocked most of them out. That's apparent by his record. He's got 15 knockouts and 21 wins. Okay, so let's just start off talking a little bit about his last fight. It was against Jairzinho Rosenstruck. Not the easiest name to say, as I'm sure everyone can appreciate, so please forgive me if the pronunciation was a bit off. He looked fine in this fight up until he didn't. That's the story of this one, I think, mainly. Everyone knows he's a great Western style boxer, great with his hands. His kicks are very sharp as well. Obviously, he had that spinning heel kick knockout that no one saw coming. I say a few years ago, it's probably about 10 years ago now. But if everyone was watching back then, very impressive. I suggest you look it up. What did he do well in this fight? He kept the striking quite even, I think. I'd even say up until he lost, he was getting the better of it. He did lose by second round knockout, and the referee did a mercy by pulling Rosenstruck off him. Him and Rosenstruck are teammates, which is always weird to see teammates fight. I think we've trained together for a long time, and it's always a bit awkward, but Rosenstruck was comforting him at the end after the loss. Still the best of friends from a look of it, so that's all good. He spent a lot of time looking for a big right hand, which wasn't there, but Rosenstruck, very accomplished kickboxer, very decent kickboxing record. I think he's 75 wins in 80 fights or something. So you'd expect that. The entire fight was on the feet. Like I say, JDS looked good until he didn't, and that has been a pattern with him recently, which brings us on to his previous fight against Curtis Blades. Again, he got knocked out in the second round. Biggest takeaway from this one is everyone knows what Curtis Blades likes to do. He likes to take people down and ground and pound them. He couldn't get the takedown on JDS. He went 0-4 on takedowns in the first round. JDS, very good takedown defence, not really engaging, just pushing him off, circling, staying well out of his takedown range. But because he was doing this, it came at a price. He was fighting from too far out, trying to land long kicks, but he was I don't want to say he was scared, but he was unwilling to go for his big kicks because of a chance of getting taken down from a very high level wrestler like Blades. Second round comes along. Blades definitely getting a better striking at this point, and again, Dos Santos looks fine until he doesn't, and that has been how it's been the last few fights. He's completely looking fine, very even fight. I mean, he just gets rocked once, bang, bang, bang. Bit of pounding against the fence. Referee pulls off Blades, and that's another loss on his record. Just a final note on JDS before we move on to Gane. This is going to be... I feel like I'm saying this a lot since Yoel Romero got cut. It feels like it's coming up nearly every fight I talk about. I think on the Jacare one I said something similar. But JDS is someone who's primed to be in those cuts from what we've heard of the way they're going with them. An older fighter, not as old as I thought though, he's only 36, which considering how long he's been around, I thought he was at least 40. So my bad on that one. But he's 3-2, so he's 2-3 in his last 5. If he loses this one, especially against an up-and-comer like Gane, I think he's getting cut again. I think he's on quite a high salary as well. I think he's on about 120 and 120. Not 100% on that though. I've tried to look around to find some figures, and that's the most consistent number I could find. So, moving on to Gane. He's 6-0, undefeated. He's had 2 UFC fights, won both of them in very impressive fashion. Got a decision win over Tanner Boser, which we'll talk about now. And he also had a 3rd round submission win over Ciryl Gane, that's him, over Dontel Mays, who, like I said, some of you will have heard of. He's not too bad himself. Okay, main thing I noticed in the Tanner Boser fight, Ciryl Gane does not fight like a heavyweight. He weighed in at 250, so it's not like he's a particularly small heavyweight. But he's so light on his feet, he bounces around like a featherweight. He's very, very good use of his range, 82-inch reach he's got, so very long reach. His counter striking was very good. His kickboxing's fantastic. His counters were probably the most impressive thing I saw from him though. And just the way he controlled the octagon throughout. Tanner Boser, I never quite know where to place Tanner Boser in the rankings I have in my head. I mean, you get the feeling one fight he could be a top 15, moving into the top 10. The other fights you feel like he's there to make up the numbers. And this fight was one of them. Very dominant decision win for Ciryl Gane in this one. Tanner Boser didn't really land much at all. But I think that's a testament more to Ciryl Gane's defence and his evasion than a lack of skill from Tanner Boser. Okay, big up and comer this guy. He's gonna go far in the future, I think. He's only 30, he's French, which you don't see a lot of French fighters in. MMA's only recently become legal in France, so I think we will see more fighters out of that region in the next few years. Okay, we'll just do the attributes now, side by side. So we've got striking, grappling, fight IQ, chin, and gas tank. Okay, so striking, I've got to say it's quite even on the striking. Just JDS with his number of knockouts he's got over such competitors, and even in the last few fights where he's lost, his striking's not looked bad at all. Ciryl Gane, fantastic striker. There's not a lot more to say about it. He's just a natural. The way he moves, if you see him, he's just very natural in the way he strikes. Moving on to the grappling, I'm going for Ciryl Gane on this one. It's worth mentioning that JDS is a black belt, but if anyone can tell me the last time he saw JDS try and engage on the floor in any sort of jiu-jitsu, I'd be very surprised, because I feel like I've seen most of his fights, and I can't remember him ever actively engaging in any sort of jiu-jitsu. He likes to fight on the feet, as does Ciryl Gane, but Ciryl Gane's got 3 submission wins. So I feel like he's probably got the advantage when it comes to the grappling. Okay, fight IQ, it's going to Junior Dos Santos. Just the high level experience he's got. This is going to be his first fight against a young guy. Up until now he's been fighting contenders. Not to disrespect Ciryl Gane and say he's not a contender, but you go through Junior Dos Santos' resume, he's fought the best there is in the heavyweight division over the last 15 years, 10, 12, 15, whatever. I think 2008 he made his debut. Okay, moving on to the chin. Big one for Ciryl Gane this. No doubt at all, this was the easiest of the 5 for me to pick. Junior Dos Santos, his chin's let him down in his last 3 losses, I appreciate they've come against Rosenstruck, Blades and Ngannou, but he's looked fine until he's got clipped in all three of those fights. And I just feel like his chin's going on him at this point. So, nice easy pick there for me, Ciryl Gane for the chin. Gas tank, Ciryl Gane, just because his fights tend to be a little bit longer on average than JDS's. He's not got the 5-round experience that JDS has, obviously. Excuse me. But he's younger. The way he moves, he's much lighter on his feet. He's not looked tired in any of the fights I've seen him in at any point. And it's been a long time since we've seen JDS go the distance on any of his fights. And I'm questioning whether or not he's still got the same gas tank he used to. Okay, so now moving on to my pick, if I haven't made it obvious already. I'm going for Ciryl Gane by TKO in this one. Possibly a knockdown to a submission, but definitely a stoppage. Probably round 2 or 3. I'd be very surprised to see this one finish in the first round. So if anyone's thinking about betting the distance, so round betting, I'd go for over 1.5 as opposed to under for this one. But Ciryl Gane for the stoppage win is 8 to 11. I can't remember the American odds on that right now, but they will be up on the screen, so don't worry about that. He's 3 to 1 for the decision, plus 300. I'd be surprised to see this one go the distance. I really would. I appreciate his last fight went the distance, but it's been a good while since JDS went the distance, and in 37 fights between them, they've only gone the distance 6 times between them. So I'd be very surprised to see that. Alright, so we're going to wrap this one up now. This has been Octagon Control MMA. I've been Dan. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. Hope everyone has a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow with a co-main event and the main event.